Hey there, welcome back to another review, this time of the 2015 boxing sports drama Southpaw, which is a film that I was really looking forward to. I really liked the trailer. I'm a big fan of Jake Gyllenhaal. I really love Nightcrawler. I think he's really been doing a great job performance-wise, choosing a lot of good projects, and I finally saw the film and I really liked it. I really did. I thought this was much better than Creed. I thought it was one of the best boxing sports dramas I had seen in a long time, probably since Rocky Balboa. I thought it had a really phenomenal performance by Jake Gyllenhaal as Billy Hope. I thought the film was well directed by Antoine Fuqua. I thought the story, yes, did it have cliches? Yes. Did it have some genre tropes? Was it not 100% original? Yeah, but I expected that. And I knew that was going to be the case. This is a sports boxing drama. This is a particular genre of film that has had hundreds of films made about this particular topic. I wasn't going to expect this movie to be 100% original from the very beginning. So, and the fact that it wasn't didn't bother me. Didn't bother me at all. Um, it was a very small part of the problem for me. It really wasn't even a problem because I thought, although yes, there were some things I'd seen before, some tropes and some genre cliches, the story was compelling enough for me, and I really liked the characters, so that more than made up for it. And the direction was well done, and so was the editing and the cinematography. The boxing sequences were great. I actually felt adrenaline watching those sequences. I didn't feel that way with the sequences in Creed, and I haven't really felt that way about a boxing film since probably Rocky Balboa. Like I said, Rocky Balboa or even Rocky 4. Um, and the film got me invested emotionally. It really did. I know, yeah, that's the point, trying to tug at your heartstrings, and I don't know, maybe I'm just that type of guy, but it really did work. It worked in that regard. And I also thought the score was really, really good. It was understated, it was subtle, but I thought it was fantastic. Really gave the film a really big heart, and it was a score that was done by James Horner, and it was the last score that he worked on before he passed away. And this film was actually dedicated to James. And James Horner, he himself decided he wanted to do the score for this movie. He even took money out of his own pocket to make the score for this movie because he liked the story so much. The producers, they couldn't afford to hire him or have this type of soundtrack, and James Horner just put it upon himself to put the money up front and to work on the soundtrack and to get the score in the film. And it was his last score. And I think it's a very memorable, very beautiful, very moving score. I really do. I think it's a fantastic score. And that shows you how amazing this man was. He was selfless. He gave up. You decided, okay, I'm gonna do the score. You don't even have to pay me. I know you can't afford it, so I'm gonna pay the money out of my own pocket to make sure that my score for this film is in the movie. That's when I first read that, I was just like, wow, that's really amazing. And may James rest in peace. For everything I've heard, he was a really nice guy. He was a wonderful person, and I'll never forget him or his music. Southpaw started out as a project for Eminem, because Eminem himself is a Southpaw, and a lot of the screenplay was based a lot in a lot, based on Eminem's life, on the things that he's dealt with in his own life, and so forth and so on. And Eminem actually agreed to be in the movie, but then he decided he wanted to focus more on his music, so then it became a film where they needed a star. And there were a few other actors who auditioned for the film. Um, there was Ryan Gosling, Bradley Cooper, and Jeremy Renner. And I thought all of them could have done pretty good jobs, but I thought Jake Gyllenhaal just knocked it out of the park. He delivered a knockout performance. It was fantastic. He really transformed himself. He became Billy Hope. And That's what was one of the most impressive things about the film to me was Gyllenhaal. And the character I rooted for. And I also thought the character was different from the type of boxing character I normally see on film. I know some people don't like this character because he's unlikable in the beginning and he's a brash loudmouth, he's cocky, he's got anger management issues and he's basically he's a brute pretty much. But there are aspects of this character that I think show through and bleed through that show that he's not really an asshole. He just has problems. He grew up on the street. He managed to become this big boxer. And he has this beautiful, wonderful wife who helps him out. And he has this, and has a, daughter that he loves very much. And he just has problems. And I thought that was refreshing. I thought it was nice to see that. He wasn't perfect. He wasn't some clean cut boxer. He was, I thought it was more interesting. I thought Billy Hope's character was 10 times more interesting than Adonis Creed. And because it was a character that had his problems, had his issues, was a little bit punch drunk, and he had serious anger management problems, and that's one of the main reasons why was as devastating of a boxer as he was. But that's also the reason why a lot of things happened in the film that ended up hurting him. And he had to face those problems. He had to face his own demons and to vanquish them in order to really become not only a better boxer, but a better person, a better human being, and a better father. And I thought that was actually really well handled in this film. I thought that aspect of the movie was really well done. Yes, the screenplay as is definitely just have boxing cliches in it, but it's a boxing sports drama. I expected that. Um, so that didn't bother me. I thought Kurt Sutter, this is one of his first screenplays. I thought it was a pretty good screenplay for first time out. I thought there was enough that was in the film that made up that I liked, that I really thought was excellent, that made up for the story, being somewhat been there, done that. I mean, the stuff with Rocky it took elements from Rocky 5 and a few elements from these other, films like Rocky, but it didn't feel like a Rocky film. I didn't think it was just Rocky all over again. I know a lot of people kind of felt that way. And I just didn't feel that. I thought it was a different type of movie. It had a different vibe. It had a different feel to it. I didn't really feel that way. I didn't feel that way about this movie. And as usual, I'll go into spoilers. And I think I haven't really gone into too much spoilers here in this beginning part of the review because don't really want to spoil it for the people who haven't seen it. So if you liked Creed, if you like the Rocky films, or if you like sports dramas, you like boxing, and you like Jake Gyllenhaal, if you like any of those things, I recommend this movie. I suggest you give it a look sometime if you haven't already. So that's why I don't want to spoil everything for you right off the bat. But now I'm getting into spoilers here. Where I think the film actually did become more different and from something that I've seen before from this type of film was when Rachel McAdams' character, who she did a phenomenal job performance-wise. I mean, the whole cast is actually really good, I thought. Jake Gyllenhaal was fantastic as the lead, Billy Hope. Forrest Whitaker delivers one of his best acting performances, in my opinion, as Titus Tick Willis, an older trainer who Hope asks for help later in the film. And pretty much what he does is he becomes this film's, in a way, sort of, like it's Mickey, and this helps Billy Hope get back on top. Naomie Harris plays Angela Rivera, a little bit role. She does a good job of what she has to do with it. Rachel McAdams is fantastic in her little bit role as Maureen Hope, Billy's wife, love of his life, the person that's in a way reason why he wants to survive, the reason why he wants to live, and she's also an inspiration to him. He always looks at her in the audience when he's fighting, and I thought she did a great job, Rachel McAdams. She's really, I really think that she's really transformed herself when it comes to her acting, because this is an actress who started out, she was in, Mean Girls as Regina, the blonde, she was also in The Hot Chick. But as her career has gone on, she's really, really transformed herself as an actress. She was great in the Sherlock Holmes films as Irene, and she was really good in this, and then she was also in Spotlight, and another film I really liked from this year, and she was fantastic in that. She's really done a great job as an actor. She's really separated herself as far away from this Regina George character. She's really evolved as an actress and has become an actress that is one of, I would honestly probably say, is one of the most talented and best actresses working today, and that's an amazing accomplishment for her. And I really I feel good for her, and I really look forward to what she's going to do next. I think she's in Doctor Strange, which is the Doctor Strange adaptation, which is coming out next year. So I look forward to see what she does with that role. And you also have 50 Cent, who plays Jake Gyllenhaal, Billy Hope's manager. It was there, but I mean, it's 50 Cent. He's not a great actor. I think it would have been better if they had an actor who could actually act there. And then you have Oona Laurence, who plays Leila, Leila, Layla, Layla Hope, who is Billy and Marine's daughter. And I thought she did a great job too. I thought this is one of the best kid actor performances I've probably seen in a long while. It was believable, and I thought she did a good job. Um, and Miguel Gomez plays Miguel Magic Escobar, who's pretty much the film's villain. He's the antagonist, and I liked him more. There was more to him than the antagonist in Creed, but at the same time, the performance wasn't spectacular. That's one of the few things that kind of held the film back. I mean, there's nothing about this character that's memorable, like Clubber Lang or Ivan Drago. I mean, that's the thing, and it's. I always look at boxing films like this, and I look at Clubber Lang or Ivan Drago or even Apollo Creed, and I compare boxing opponents to those opponents, and a lot of these films just have not been able to come close to being as good and as intimidating or as interesting or as fun to watch or as love to hate as those characters. Um, but he was a loudmouth. He was definitely a guy you wanted to get his ass kicked though, because he's committing low blows. He's being dirty. He's fighting dirty. And also spoilers. He's the reason his security team, who brought guns when they shouldn't have, is the reason why Billy's wife is dead. And he even remarks on that during the fight at the end. I mean, it's like this is a guy. The guy did a good job making. I mean, yeah, you did love to hate him, but it wasn't anything memorable. Like, I guess you didn't love to hate him. It was just one of those you hated him, but you didn't love to hate him because he wasn't that memorable of a character. But you did hate him, and you did want to see his face get punched in. I never felt that way about Conlon and Creed, or Tommy Gunn, or even or even Mason the Line Dixon. So it was really nice to see a fighter again that I wanted to see get his ass kicked. He deserved the ass kicking, the fucking badass slow-mo uppercut that he got in the fight with Billy at the end of the film. He deserved it. He totally did. And that's what made the whole fight so much more entertaining and so much more enthralling, and really got my adrenaline pumping and made me cheer up for Billy Hope, because I wanted him to kick this guy's ass. And I was even like that. I was like, kick his ass! Like, as soon as he starts and he starts just mentioning his dead wife, and it's just like, holy shit, and then, oh, you just wanted, this guy deserves it. So, that's the cast. There's a few other people, but they don't really have that much to do. Billy has a good friend of his, who, helps him out. I think it might be the character might be John, plays with Bo Knapp. But pretty much what happens is, I pretty much explained the big major twist in the plot, where he loses his wife, she dies in his arms, because, and partly in a lot of ways, because it was in a way his fault. I mean, he wasn't entirely at fault for it, because Miguel's brother Hector should not have brought a gun with him, but he did. And even Miguel himself is like, what the fuck, man? And because what happens is, I would just basically do a quick overview of the plot. At the beginning of the movie, you have I thought it was actually a really well shot, well edited, well choreographed fight between Billy Hope and this other boxer. he's undefeated. Billy Hope's an undefeated boxer. He's the champion. He's living with his wife Maureen, played by Rachel McAdams, and his daughter Layla, played by Oona Laurence. And during a match in which he defends his world light heavyweight title, he sustains an eye injury, and so he ends up, punching. He gets punched a few many times. Like the fight wasn't supposed to last as long as it did, and it lasted like 10 rounds. And he eventually knocks the guy out because he was faster and quicker and knew how to defend himself and basically knew how to box. Billy Hope was a boxer he was propped up because of his promoter. He was getting fighters and getting fights against opponents that, for the most part, stood no chance against him. And he was just a power puncher, a lot like Mike Tyson was. Mike Tyson in his prime was unstoppable. He's a beast, but he wasn't that great at defense. And but he was good at evading punches and stuff. Billy Hope can do that as well. But he was Tyson, though. He was a great fighter. It's just his emotions got the better of him. And that's kind of what we see here. This is a very emotional film. And I think this film and the screenplay did a great job giving us that emotion. And it felt real to me. And that's something that really got me invested in the film. In large part because of Billy Hope, Jake Gyllenhaal. I really was captivated by this film because of him. And I really felt for this character. I rooted so hard for Billy. Because what happens is takes a little bit too long to knock this guy out. He does, and he's not deciding to retire just yet. He just decides, from advice from his wife, he's going to take a break from these fights and spend more time with his family. Of course, his promoters agree with that. He's got a contract you can sign a deal for like 3 fights and you can get all this money. But Billy's like, I don't need to do that, and he ends up going to speak at this. Pretty much what he's speaking for. He's speaking at this charity function, and it's a charity event for the orphanage where he and his wife grew up, which I like that too. That he and his wife were both orphans, and so, and he's not the best speaker. He's not the smartest bulb, so to speak, but and he has the talks, he swears, and he kind of talks like a thug, but his heart is in the right place. And well, what happens is Escobar shows up, tries to get him to fight again, and he starts insulting. Basically what he does is basically he insults his wife or talks about how should fuck your wife type thing, and Billy's not going to take any of that, and his wife is trying to be there saying, "Let's go, Billy, let's go home. We don't need any of this." And he lets his anger get the better of him, and he goes in and fights him, punches him, and his bodyguard slash brother Hector pulls out a gun and he lets off a round, and it hits his wife. And Billy, before he even knows what's really going on, Hector even Miguel. Even Miguel Escobar is like, what the fuck, man? What were you doing? Like, give me that gun. Get out of here. And so now Billy's holding his wife Maureen in his arms, and she's bleeding out. And she's like, I don't believe, and it's like, what the fuck? I don't know what the, and he's like, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. It's a lot of blood. It's like, I'm gonna be fine. And she's coughing up blood, and she dies in his arms. And you can cry cliche, you can cry all of that, all you want to, but to me, just thinking about it, that's heartbreaking. That's one of the most heartbreaking things that could possibly happen to somebody, to a husband, to have his wife die in his arms. She dies right in his arms. And so this justifiably affects him emotionally. And Jake Gyllenhaal does a great job showing how emotionally shattered Billy Hope is after this. And it even gets to the point where Billy just thinks about getting revenge himself, like going and grabbing a gun and going and finding the guy who killed his wife and killing him. But The guy wasn't there. He wasn't there at the apartment, so he doesn't go along with it. And I thought that was an interesting aspect of the film too. They didn't have to show that. And then his daughter's having a hard time taking it too. And then on top of all this, he realizes that he's out of money. And he's all these taxes he needs to pay, and so he can't pay for the house. So he decides, okay, we got to repossess the house, sell some things, and then he just really falls apart. And he tries to kill himself by driving his car into a tree. It doesn't work, but he's really messed up. And his daughter finds him, and he gets taken to the hospital. And then he not only loses his house, loses his fortune, because and whatever purse he was going to have. I mean, because he tried to, while his daughter was still there, he tried to do another fight. He signed the deal with his promoter, tried to do another fight, and he just got knocked out because he didn't want, he was just too emotionally shattered to fight. And so he's just standing there while he's getting his face punched in, and he's just not fighting back. And he's just waiting, just knock me out. And that's what happened. He got knocked out, lost his title, so he had no reason to fight anymore. And then he loses his title, he loses his house because he has to repossess it. Yeah, he has to basically sell it, let it get repossessed because he needs the money, but to pay the debts, and he doesn't get the purse that he got for that fight because of the attempted suicide. Because he goes to court, he gets the custody of his child taken away from him. His daughter gets put into the same situation he was in, gets put into a home, basically this facility, for child protective services, which is just doubly, which is an extra punch in the gut to him. And whatever money he got from the purse, I mean, not really the purse, but purse is a little slang term for amount of money you might get for the fight. Whatever money he might have gotten for that fight is put on hold because of his behavior, his self-destructive behavior. So, and he was also caught with narcotics because he was taking painkillers and stuff. He's addicted to painkillers because of, his profession. And so he's got a month to see if he can prove to the court that he's able to get his daughter back. And the first month doesn't go along very well. He's not able to prove enough to the court enough that he should get her back. He goes back pretty much to where he was from, and he finds the trainer who trained this boxer, who he really believes is the only boxer that really ever beat him. But he won via split decision, but only because his manager was able to pay off the judges. And this is Titus Tick Willis, played by Forrest Whitaker. So he goes to his gym, and he asks him to train him. And Titus doesn't want to do it because he doesn't train professional boxers anymore after what happened. But they start to build a bond over time. And because Titus offers him a job, at first he declines. He didn't want to clean toilets, but then he realizes, I need a job to show the Child Protective Services that, I can keep a job, and that I'm trying to rehabilitate myself, and that I can take care of my daughter. So, I know you can call it cliched, whatever you want, but to me, I find that very compelling. The idea of the redemption story. It's Rocky V done correctly. He loses everything, but he actually has a chance to get it back. That never happened in Rocky V because of the brain damage and all of that stuff. So here he loses his wife, and even in Rocky V, even what Rocky dealt with in Rocky V was nowhere near as traumatic as what Billy Hope had to deal with. So when he gets literally knocked into ground zero, pretty much knocked on down to nothing, and left with just himself and nothing else. I mean, he probably has a little bit of money, but not that much, enough to get like a crappy apartment. But you root so hard for him because you want him to not only get over the grief of the loss of his wife, you want him to prove to people that he can be a good father, and that he can get his daughter back, and you want him to win, win again. So you not only want him to win another fight, but you want him to win. There's two fights going on here. There's the fight for his daughter, and there's the fight, in the ring. And eh, yes, there have been instances of films like this that have had that plot, but the characters in this are so well written, and the performances are so great that makes up for that. I don't care about that. That doesn't bother me. And regardless if it's a plot line that's been used before, it's still a really compelling plot line for me. I I can't help it. I mean, I put myself in Billy's shoes, and I root so hard for him, and I do the same for myself. If I was put in that situation, what if you were put in that situation? Okay, let's not go with the boxing angle. How about you just lose your job, and you lose your wife? She dies in your arms in an accident, and you have a little breakdown psychologically, and because of that, you get addicted to some things and then you lose your daughter, and now you need to fight for your daughter, and you need to prove that you can be a reliable father. And that, to me, even as somebody who doesn't even have kids, is so compelling. So I don't know about you, but I mean, I did, just thinking about that is just such a tragic situation that you want and you root for someone, especially someone like Billy Hope, who's not perfect, but at least in this film he shows that he's ready and he's willing to change. It takes some time, but he realizes it and he's ready and he's willing to change. And that's why you root for him. That's why you root for his redemption. It's a redemption story you might have seen before, but not with this character and not with this performance. So that's what makes it different for me. That's what makes it not as tired and boring and cliched as a lot of other critics have said this film was, because I really, really got into the film because I got into the story, no matter if it was familiar or not. I got into the story because of Billy Hope, because of the character, because of how it was written and how it was performed by Jake Gyllenhaal. So I felt for him, and that's why I really got into this film, is because I actually connected with Billy Hope. I related to him and his struggles, and I wanted him to make things better and to win. So, and that's eventually what he does. He gets help from Tick. Tick eventually agrees to train him. There's some other drama, which is pretty sad too, where there's this young kid who was helping out at the gym, and his dad was abusive. His mom was no longer around. His mom died, and then, well, his dad lost it, and he shot his kid. And there's a really good scene with Forrest Whitaker telling uh, Billy about what happened, and they have a little bit of a laugh, but only because laughter healed. Laughter heals some things. And it was just a great bonding moment for Billy and Tick. And then they eventually decide, all right, Tick agrees to train Billy, and he gets him ready for this one charity fight, and for the veterans. Billy wins, and then 50 Cent comes along, who now has his new client, who is Miguel, because that's who he is. It's just business. And he dropped Billy, used Billy. That's what a lot of promoters do, and signs on the new guy, the new champion, because Miguel beat the other guy that uh, beat Billy to win the title because Billy gave up. And so Miguel wants to fight him, and Billy's got 6 weeks to get ready. And I know some people call bullshit on the whole 6 weeks thing. Well, Rocky 2 isn't very realistic either, and how he's able to train and change his style. And, while he's dealing with praying and waiting for Adrian to wake up. So, and I don't have a problem with that, and I don't have a problem with it here either. It's not that big of a deal to me. He has a month, okay. So, he he learns a new fighting style, and learns how to defend himself with the help of Forrest Whitaker, learns how to play defense instead of just offense, learns how to control his anger and his emotions, and There's even a good scene where Forrest Whitaker talks to Billy, and he's like, how did you tell me how it happened? How did your wife die? What happened? It's like, what were you doing? Like, what was, maybe what did you do to possibly, basically like, what did you do? And then, of course, after a period of time, he realizes, I got angry. I didn't, and he realizes that he was at part to blame for his wife's death. If he would have just agreed with her and just left and not got into a fight and not let his anger get the better of him, his wife would still be alive. And, you know, so, but he had to learn that lesson. And the hard way, but he does learn it. And then you get to the final fight, and he fights Escobar, and it's a well-shot fight, it's well-directed, it's well-choreographed. There's good beats to it. I think the punches are well thrown, and you can definitely feel them. And because you root for Hope so much, you want things to work out. And of course, before that, he got his daughter back. He proved that he could be a good enough father and reliable. And of course, you had the stuff before that where there's the drama with the daughter and the father, and she hates him because of what happened, but eventually they reconcile. And then she wants to see the fight, and she wants to be there, and he agrees to let her, just at least be in the training room and see the fight on TV. And so then the fight happens, and it lasts. I think it's lost longer than anybody thought it would, and Billy wins. He gets his title back, he gets his daughter back, and it's all this emotional. It's an emotional, um, basically, it's like an emotional firework. It's like it all builds up to a crescendo and it explodes with just this powerful emotion at the end that really got me. And it really was. It, I smiled, I cheered, I clapped, and that's Southpaw. I know a lot of people just think, oh, that's just predictable, cliche, genre trope, been there, done that. I understand that. If that bothers you so much that you can't enjoy the film, I'm fine with that. I don't have a problem with that. Um, but for me personally, that didn't bother me that much because everything else about the movie I really, really liked. I love the performances by the cast, except for maybe 50 Cent. And the guy who played Miguel, it wasn't the greatest actor in the world, but it could have been worse. The writing could have been a little bit better, but the most part I thought was pretty good for a first time writer. The pacing, it's a bit slow paced. It takes a while to get going. So there is that element. It could have been a little bit more tightly paced, but I still like the film, even though I had those problems. But mainly it's Gyllenhaal's phenomenal performance. I like the score. I even like the soundtrack with Eminem music, like Eminem's "Kings Never Die," which he did for the film, and it also featured a chorus by a hook by Gwen Stefani. And I even like of course, "Phenomenal," the song that Eminem also did for the film. I like that, and I didn't mind the song, Beast song in the beginning either. That Jake is getting ready, Billy's getting ready for the fight, too, in the beginning of the movie. I'm a motherfucking beast, So I didn't mind that either. Like it was. I thought it was actually kind of badass because you know everyone wants to be a motherfucking beast sometime. It's good workout music. Um, good music to get you pumped up. But and the score by James Horner, the cinematography, I thought was actually really well done for the most part by Mauro Flore. The editing by John Refoa, I thought was really well done too. And this is a pretty low budget movie, $25 million film, and it had a big feel to me though. It didn't feel like a really low budget movie, but it was gritty and it was down and dirty when it needed to be, but it also had a really, really big heart, and that went a long, long way for me. And I just like the characters, and that's what made. Yeah, it's a story that I've seen before, but it's the journey that I thought made it really work for me because I thought the journey was definitely worth watching because I like these performances and I like these characters, and I thought the story was compelling. And that just made me root for Billy Hope, and I wanted him to get better, and I wanted him to not only better his life, but better better his daughter's life in the process, and to become not only a better fighter but a better father and a better person. And that is something that I can root for any day. So yeah, for any film, no matter how many cliches or genre tropes might be in the movie. But that's just me personally. Anyway, I really don't know what to say about Southpaw, except it was a rated out of 5 stars. I would give it 4.5 out of 5. I like the film that much. It's definitely in my top 10 when it comes to my favorite films of the year. Maybe even top 5. I liked it that much. Um, yeah, it was that. I really did like it. It was that great to me. But anyway, thank you for watching my review of Southpaw, and I will see you guys later. See ya.